I'm so excited that you took the time to join us on the next episode of Beyond the Culture. This is the show where we embrace change and challenge cultural norms and ideals. I'm your host, Dr. David Walker. So how are you, Pam?
I am excellent. Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I'm just so excited to have you on the show today, but please let me start with giving you your official introduction.
Okay.
Today on our show, I am excited to have Pam Perry. Pam Perry is an award-winning communications professional. She teaches and mentors authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs on how to build a platform and attract major media and publishing contracts. Pam is also the publisher of Speakers Magazine and co-founder of Digital Business Acceleration. Pam has been called by Publishers Weekly a PR guru. Did you hear what I said? She is a PR guru and featured in many major publications. She also has 20 plus, she has a 20 plus year career expertise in marketing, public relations, and journalism in Detroit. And finally, Pam is known as the master of connecting the right people for the right project at the right time. Pam Perry PR works hard to help her clients brand and get paid like a superstar. I am super excited to have on Beyond the Culture today, Pam Perry. Pam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I want my clients to really get paid like a superstar. That is really the joy. That is the joy.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as I said, I'm just excited to have you on the show today. And I want to begin here because on the show, we have been celebrating women all month long because March is Women's History Month. But I've been saying that March is Women's Her Story Month.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah, because it's her story, and I want her to get all the credit for everything that she has done. So we've been celebrating women all month. And of course, we have legendary women in our community, like the Shirley Chisholms, the Madam C.J. Walker, uh, Mary Jackson. Mary Jackson, she was a mathematician, and many of you may know her from Hidden Figures. She was one of those from Hidden Figures. And
Hmm.
NASA just put her name on one of their buildings. It is known as the Mary Jackson Building.
Wow.
So
I
yeah,
love
so that was great for her. We have the Maya Angelou's, the Oprah Winfrey's, the Mae Jamesons, and of course, I would be remiss if I did not include the lady in the White House, Kamala Harris. So this is Women's
There was one
History.
before her, but she wasn't official, but it was Michelle Obama. I love Michelle.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so
How
Michelle
how
made
can I forget Michelle Obama? Um, so I want to start here, Pam. Being that it's Women's History Month, Women's Her Story Month, I just want you to kind of talk about this season of the impact of the woman. I mean, women have been great throughout history, but this month, this great recognition. I just kind of want you to talk about that as we celebrate Women's History Month.
Yeah, it's really like Speakers Magazine this month celebrating Women's History Month. Now it's
Yes.
always been this whole thing of Women's History Month, and Women's International Women's Day was the other day, but it is something different that's shifting in the world about women this year. And I don't know whether it's because Kamala Harris is in the White House, or Michelle Obama was, in the White House before, or what it is, Amanda Gorman. I mean, it's just so many different things that women are really making big strides. I remember seeing last year on Netflix, there was a story called She Made It, I believe. And was that the name of it? And it was a story about Madam C.J. Walker. And that story just really, oh my God, it just really just showed the persistence that women have, and the creativity, and the humility of really pulling things together way back then.
Yes.
And I just saw too that that young lady who produced that Netflix special, she is having a podcast as well. So women are just doing the darn thing. I mean, Beyonce says that girls, they run the world. uh before that, she was saying all the single ladies. I mean, it's, you just got, it's more than like, I'm a baby boomer. It's more than kind of like that whole feminist movement back in the 60s kind of thing. It's a different kind of vibe. It's not like we just want to be free just to, burn our bras and like, we're equal, but it's more like we're bringing our energy, we're bringing our femininity, we're bringing our creativity, our power, and we're standing in it. And it's really a beautiful thing. We don't have to degrade men in order for us to stand in our power. We're like on the come up. And so you were naming some of the women that are quote unquote like the Shiros, the Mayas, the Oprahs, and Michelle Obama, Kamala. Those are just women that we just love them because of who they are. And they're getting the recognition they deserve. Now, my mother's generation, they didn't really have that many role models, but today we have a lot, a
Yes.
lot. Mhm.
Yeah, that movie was Self-Made.
Self-made,
Yeah,
yes.
with Octavia Spencer talking about Madam C.J. Walker, who
Yes.
was they say the first, maybe the
Yes,
first woman to become a millionaire. Was
yes,
I think
not
that,
black one, but just the
yeah,
first
the
woman
first
to become
woman
a, yes,
self-made millionaire. And
yes,
yeah,
yes.
so that story was great. I want to start here with this conversation, and recently you and I were on the phone, and I mentioned this to you. I want to go back to the early 2000s. I was a young pastor New York, uh, New York, but I was on Long Island,
Mhm.
not too far from a good friend of ours, Pastor Donnie McClurkin.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's
we're
from
good.
Detroit too.
Yep,
Yes.
yes, and so we're good friends. And but I was a young pastor, and I was trying to get, you know, no, not necessarily notoriety, but I was trying to get my ministry out, let people know that I'm pastoring, and so on and so forth. And one day I was on the computer, and all of a sudden, here comes this announcement or this advertisement for Ministry Marketing Solutions.
That was me.
And for the first time, I saw this thing: constant contact. You can get in contact with people. You can connect. You can market your ministry. And I was so fascinated by the advertisement. So I remember going into the bedroom to my wife, and I said, "Honey, I'm going to Detroit." And she said, "For what?" I said, "I'm going to see this lady named Pam." She said, "Who's?" She gave me that look, right? I'm going to see some woman named Pam in Detroit, right? So I told her, "No, there's a ministry marketing program. They're having a workshop in Detroit, and I'm going." And Pam, I didn't know anybody. I got on a plane, came straight to Detroit, came to this hotel, and it might
Yes.
have been a day or two.
Hmm.
But when I got there, and lo and behold, you were the person who was advertising Ministry Marketing Solutions. And
Yes.
that was my first contact with you.
Oh my
I
God.
didn't realize that until the other day, recently, when you were talking and you started talking about how you got started in Detroit. I said, wait a minute, that's the same lady that I attended her workshop many,
Hair's
many
a different
years
color.
ago.
Hair's a different color.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Pam, tell us about that start for you, because as I said, you're in the ministry marketing uh, business, the media and publishing business, and I believe that's where you started. Maybe not. So just tell us about that start, and so we can have a better understanding
That
about
was
you.
a seminar that we did in 2003 as the company started. Ministry Marketing School started in 2000. And I was 40 years old at the time. So, I'm 60 now. So that was a while ago. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was making sure that ministries knew how to market properly. I came out of corporate America. I was director of public relations for the Salvation Army. Keyword salvation. It's a church. It's a
Hmm.
church. So all I wanted to do was use my skills that I had over my career. I had worked in newspaper, I'd worked in radio, I'd worked in television, and then finally ended up as the director of public relations Salvation Army, where we were doing all kind of community relations, public relations, fundraising, marketing, publicity, and I wanted to branding, and I wanted to use those same skills for my community. Keyword African American church, the Black church. And it never really was a thing that you would hire a marketing or PR person for a church. But I knew that I really love working with those type of nonprofits. I knew that authors and speakers that were in the church had a powerful life-changing message. And I
Hmm.
said, if I'm going to do marketing PR, I want to do it for people that are life changing. The Salvation Army was definitely that, change people around the world, but I want to do it within our community and just show them a better way of how to really manifest more media, how to really get on television and how, radio and magazines, and really brand better, like things like this, like, how to really take that corporate shot and really be positioned right in the market so that you can attract the people that are going to come to your ministry.
Mhm.
So that's really how it started. It was just out of a passion that something that I loved as a child, because that was always my gift of writing and really promoting and really pulling together people so that they can, so there's a good message. I want people to know about it. That was just a natural thing. I grew up next door to my pastor, Reverend Joseph R. Jordan. And he had said to me when I was a teenager, he said, "Girl, you're going to do PR for Jesus," because I was always the one that would try to galvanize people from the neighborhood to come and hear him preach. He was prolific. He was like the best pastor that had like youth programs, and we had plays, we had musicals. He was very creative in terms of the ministry. And I said, you know what? More people need to come. And that's how it started. And I wasn't the person in the church doing like in the plays or the person doing the singing, or I wasn't even on the usher board. I was a person that would just get people to where they needed to be. That I felt that was my gift, my calling.
So, being that this took place in the early 2000s, how did the churches embrace, what you were trying to
Oh, they
do for?
didn't. They
Okay,
didn't.
so tell us about,
They did.
that experience.
Yeah, the whole thing of it is like it's a business. It's what I do as a business. It wasn't what I was doing as a volunteer. I had, 20 plus years in advertising, marketing, and PR. So when I'm trying to give a proposal to a pastor, they're not understanding the costs. They're
Mm,
not understanding that this is what you have to pay for. That they understand maybe like hard costs, like in terms of like if I print something and I mail it out through the mail and I print it, they understand that. But to have someone design it and to write it or to craft it or to pull out the whole that part they did not get. They did not get it. I told them, the African American pastors. It wasn't really until I started really speaking to them about marketing from a standpoint of like if it were an automotive company and they understood that, like,
mm.
okay, if someone's going to buy a Ford, you just can't, hire the ad agency. Well, here, do it for free. So also too, during this time, social media was on the come up. It was just starting. And so a lot of pastors and churches were afraid of social media. Oh my God, I don't want to be on social media. I mean, this was like to get them on MySpace. They thought MySpace was from the devil.
Right.
It was just really so different because I'm writing press releases and talking to the media and television and radio. And they are holding the the people that you want to reach,
Okay.
but you're scared to talk to them and really how to really properly put yourself out there. So I wrote a book called 115 PR tips on how to brand your ministry. Just a little ebook, it wasn't ebook at the time, it was a little digital book. It's still on Amazon. And it really went through what it is that what is your corporate logo look like? What are things that you need? What just the whole thing about the experience of bringing people into you. And even it talked about websites and things like that. So it was a situation where David, I was treading new ground. I was treading new ground, and it was very hard. It was very hard.
When did it turn for you? I know the churches were resistant at first, but when did it start turning where churches were accepting, what you were offering in terms of ministry and marketing?
When they really saw the results, when I was showing them what a difference going on radio, TV, writing press releases, having professional photographs, having corporate ID, having Facebook pages, really like what that meant, and where they can really interact with people. And also, too, when they wrote books, they were getting speaking gigs and they wanted more speaking gigs. And I said, well, you have to build your platform. So a lot of the terms I was teaching them, they kind of understood. At a certain point in time, it really changed when I was quit. I won't say quit working with churches. I worked with all the mega churches here in Detroit, Greater Grace, Word of Faith, Straight Gate, They were the mega churches here, and they understood it. The smaller churches were the ones that really, that's why I did that seminar that we met at. They didn't really get it. But a lot of the larger ones did, and they were writing books, and they had magazines, and they were doing direct mail, and they were doing email marketing. They were doing things that like a corporation would do. So it wasn't until I started working with different publishing companies like a Zondervan, a Moody, a Harrison House, a Harvest House, a FaithWorks, Random House. Those had Christian imprints, and I started working with those type of Christian speakers. So I would work with someone like maybe Michelle McKinney Hammond, who at the time was not a pastor, or I was working with Valerie Burton or Andrea Hall, or I would work with Judson Press, who would work with Dr. Susan Johnson Cook, Dr. Sujay. And so they understood it because they were now in business as a publisher. They were publishing books. So they had to learn marketing. They couldn't just do it church the same way. So when they really started writing more books and producing more books, Dr. Cindy Trim was one of my clients as well. Creflo Dollar, TD Jakes was really like the banner for a lot of them to understand that, oh, we need to do email marketing. Oh, we need to do some social media marketing. Oh, we need to do some direct marketing. It was like the light clicked on probably like about 2010. At that point, it's probably about 10 years into my business. And I really made the pivot from Ministry Marketing Solutions to PamPerryPR.com because people knew me anyway. It was like, oh, we'll call Pam Perry. And so that's where I really decided that I would help those authors and speakers that had a message to share to the world. And that was really how I was going to help them through them writing books, publishing books, and speaking on stages.
Tell us how do you work with your clients? I know you are you teach, you mentor authors and speakers. Just tell us how you work with your clients.
So one of the main things with any of them, they have to have a brand. So I help them with their branding. So that is depending on where they are. Each client I work with, we put together a proposal, what it is their goals are, and then we devise a strategy. So for instance, if it is Dr. Cindy Trim and she has a new book coming out, what is where she's starting from will be different from someone who doesn't have a brand name. So depending on where they are is where we would start and put together a proposal. But for the most part, we're writing messaging for them. We're writing press releases. We're pitching them to the media. The
Okay.
media will pick them up, and then on the back end, hopefully, their digital marketing is in place where that will convert into clients, convert into readers, convert into members, whatever it is their goal is. So, primarily, it is really getting the message out about them into the world based on where they are. So, for instance, we can't, like Meghan Markle and um, Prince Harry, they were on Oprah. Everybody can't get on Oprah and get that type of exposure right off the bat.
Mhm.
They have a brand. They have a certain brand, or Dr. Cindy Trim has a certain brand. So I always teach people that media begets media. You start where you can start, and then you go from there, and you're just consistent with it. Social media helps as well, but I don't teach primarily social media. I teach traditional media, how to get media interviews, how to really guest post in other articles and things like that. So that's really like the main thing that I want people to understand, that media is everywhere, but you got to know the strategy and your target audience and what you want to do.
So you provide strategies for those that you work with. I wanted to ask you this because I'm sure you just gave me a list of a lot of people that you work with, and I'm sure they're listening to you and they're following your guidance and your instructions. But the question is, what strategy would you say that some of your clients, or just maybe people in general, you say they would you know almost like consistently fail to follow? It's just that some people just miss some things, maybe consistently, or they don't get it, or from your opinion, you find that some people keep missing the mark in a particular area. What would that be?
I would say people think they're more ready than they are. That
Okay.
looks really easy. And it looks really easy to get on a podcast, to show up online, to put together this podcast, to put together these photo shoot. It looks a lot easier than it does, to
Okay.
put together this magazine, or to get on WHUR, or to just, show up and MC and facilitate. It just looks a lot easier than it does. You see this person like, wow, but they don't know that behind the scenes what it took for them to get to this point.
Sure.
This person here definitely has been on PBS. They've been on the Black News Channel. They have been on different various shows. They're pretty much a celebrity in their own town. So it grows from there. So I would say the main thing, people just, I call it the ready, set, go, speak formula, like where they are in the ready phase. Like, what is it you're trying to do? Where do you want to go? Who is your target audience? Why are you doing it? And then I say the set, it's like, okay, now let's get the tools. Let's get your toolkit together. What is it that you need in order to get there? And then go is really the pitching. And then really at that point it's rejection, because not everybody you pitch is going to accept you. And so you just go through that whole ready, set, go. And then speak is when you're actually showing up on the stages, you are doing the interviews, you're sounding correctly, you're getting invited back, you're sharing your success or your content online so that media can beget media. So I always say it's a whole, the hardest part is in the ready phase,
Okay.
because most people think they're more ready than they are. Most people say, well, I've got a website, and I look at it and say, oh no, we can't go forward with that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I just read something the other day. It was a young lady who was featured in Oprah magazine. I think it was in December. She was a personal shopper, and Oprah mentioned her in a magazine, and they had heard about her because she was a personal shopper and she was doing these type of things. So she got featured in the magazine, but she realized that she was not ready for the opportunity, that the Oprah audience would flood her
Hmm.
website. It flooded her business. It flooded uh, almost to the point where she lost thousands and thousands of dollars because of bad customer service, bad systems. She just was not ready.
Okay.
Was not ready. She had the person who interviewed her for the magazine article. She knew what she knew, but as far as her business and the back end, the systems and things like that, they were just raggedy. They were
Okay.
just raggedy. And she wrote about this, and she says, you know what, now I am making sure that my stuff is together. If I'm going to get out there, that I get out there and I leverage it and maximize it, and I don't show up and look like a fool. So I always try to say, I'm just trying to help you. I'm just trying to help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, you've held up your speakers magazine, and you are the uh, owner, operator, publisher of Speakers
Mhm.
Magazine.
Yes.
How was that birth in you? What motivated you to do that?
It was something that in the market that we didn't have. And that was
Okay.
really it. So I know so many speakers, like I said, I work with speakers and authors, and a lot of them are just trying to get that first media hit.
And you
And
focus on Black speakers
yeah,
primarily, right?
unapologetic, yes, black, red, black,
Yeah.
and green. And Ben Chavis is on the cover as well. So a lot of, Stephanie Mills was on the cover as well. And
Wow.
a lot of the times when black speakers need to have the shine, they may go to the one or two that people know.
Right.
Nothing wrong with Les Brown and George Frazier and Willie Jolly. Those are the favorite three
Hmm.
that the other organizations would always just pull. But there are so many more wonderful black speakers. And so I wanted to create a vehicle where we're putting shine on those black speakers. And that's how we partnered with the Black Speakers Network as well. And we partnered with Dr. Will Moreland as well. So
And
I
oh, and would you go back to that magazine and go to page 10? We want to show that one more time.
Page 10. Oh, I wonder who that is. That's Dr. David Walker right there. And so that's one of the things too, where we need professional photos. So a lot of times when I'm trying, if they say that they're ready, I say, send me your photos, send me your bio, and the bios aren't written correctly or the photos aren't correct. And I can see it says, how are you doing with your bookings? Oh, I'm not really booking that. I said, well, this is probably why we need to work on your branding. Like this one right here is a good picture of Crystal.
Hmm.
It's nothing wrong with having like two different looks, but sometimes a brand is really consistent across the border.
Right.
You're consistent where you're showing up maybe in the same colors, or you're showing up with the same kind of look and feel, because that's what a brand is. Gucci Starbucks is the same look and feel. So that's what branding does. And so I said, personal branding is important. So it's the first thing that I try to get speakers to understand and authors to understand, that it's about your personal brand, why people would hire you versus someone else. So you've got to show up the best way that you can. So yeah, I love doing that. Dr. Geneva, when we first started, she had one headshot.
Okay.
Now she has like tons and tons and tons of photos, where we can choose from. And they're all really speaking to her brand about speaking. Dr. Geneva speaks. So I started the magazine just really out of frustration because the other white magazines weren't featuring our people,
Right.
basically.
And you have a podcast. It's called Get Out There and Get Known with Pam Perry. Why the podcast?
Well, I interview my media friends. So a lot of times I tell my clients and things like that that this is what you need in order to get seen. This is how you get out there and get known. And so part of it they listen, but then part of it they don't believe me. I just need to be in the Wall Street Journal. I just need to be in New York Times. And so I'll have my media friends who come from CBS, NBC, ABC. I went to journalism school, so I have friends that run the gamut from major publications to major TV stations or radio stations for them to say, yes, this is what we need. This is why this is why we reject people. This is who we're looking for. This is the things that the mistakes that people are making when they pitch us. So I have media people on, and then my PR colleagues, we kind of talk back and forth like, whoo, it's almost like a little reprieve, like, okay, what is going on now? Why are people always just thinking this way? So it's like a back room, uh, fly on the wall conversation between my PR colleagues, my media friends, and we really talk about what it really takes in order to get out there and get known. It's a lot more than people think. They think that, oh, I saw them on television. They don't know, or I saw them in Essence. They don't know that it took maybe 4 years for them to really have the right pitch at the right time to really get that right hit. And it doesn't just happen overnight. If we could just pitch one time and just get an op-ed in New York Times, that would just be way too easy. It doesn't work that way. It takes a while. We don't own the media. You
Hmm.
have to earn the media. So we teach people how to earn it. That's really what we do. And so the podcast is every week. It's on LinkedIn Live. It's on YouTube. It's on iHeart. It's everywhere. But it's really a conversation with what is publicity today. Because a lot of people don't even know what publicity is. They don't even know what it is. They don't even know how to get it. They don't even know what's involved. And I always say your foundational things have to be in order to. So you need the right website, you need an email list. I mean, how would you know if it's working if you don't
Right.
know, if you don't have those foundational things set up? You wouldn't know.
Absolutely. You know, when you started your magazine, that was obviously a change in the industry because you were, putting Black people in a magazine and allowing them to have their opportunity to shine. Um, what else do you, if Pam Perry had it her way, some kind of change you would make in the industry? What would that be? Whether it's in publishing, whether it's just in media, what change would you make?
It's really for people to really understand more about digital marketing, really understand the whole premise of it, the whole ownership based of it, why SEO is important, search engine optimization is important, especially today. It wasn't when I was a publicist just starting out, it wasn't. It really wasn't that big of a difference, really, like in 2000. It really didn't start changing about SEO, search engine optimization, until about 2010. So when I put out a press release now, I used to personally have to pitch it to the media, but now I can put it out on a wire, on a news wire, and it has to have keywords, SEO keywords, for it to get picked up. So those are the different things that I wish people would understand, that the internet, yeah, it's cute and fun on Instagram and Facebook, and you get all these likes, but it is so much more deeper than that. It involves a lot of SEO copywriting. It involves systems, automation. There are certain things that you can do. Like I said, you can kind of jerry rig anything up on the internet, but is it the correct way? So you want to check ownership, making sure that you're owning your things
Mm-hmm.
online. I remember I started blogging in 2007, and we really started blogging in 2005, and then I was doing it wrong. And then about 2007, I started Blog Talk Radio because I said, "Oh, I can take my Blog Talk Radio and put it on my blog." And so I started doing that. And so I interviewed one of the first people that really started having a regular podcast. Blog Talk Radio was basically a podcast.
Right.
And I interviewed Johnny McClurkin, I interviewed Yolanda Adams, Kirk Franklin, Reverend Ron, and all those podcasts are gone now.
Yeah.
They're gone. I mean, they're just gone. I didn't
Right.
own them. I used their platform, but I didn't own them. I didn't download them. I just assumed that they would always be there. And it really taught me a lesson. I mean, Eric Thomas, all of them. And I'm like, they're all gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the platform is free. They probably just said, well, it was free.
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't pay for to use it, but it was just like, oh, that was my content. So really, I want people to understand that there's ways to put things up and out, but make sure that you're owning it, that you're saving it, that you're archiving it, and look at the ownership of it. That's really what I want people to really understand, because you can rent or you can own. I want people to own.
Absolutely. You know, you've done a lot for people, and as I said, you've changed the system. You've probably changed lives. But here's a question that I like to ask: is there any regret that you have? Somebody you didn't help, somebody you didn't impact, something that you wish you would have gotten done? Any kind of regret in terms of what you do?
I don't look at life that way. Everything is a lesson. So
Okay, okay,
I don't see any regrets. I would say that one of the things that COVID has really showed me is that our people are unprepared,
okay.
so unprepared in terms of the digital world than I really even thought. I was like, oh my goodness. And I've really been in this space. I mean, I was early on MySpace and, went through Facebook. I mean, I have 25,000 people on Twitter. I have about 50,000 on Facebook. I've got 25,000 on LinkedIn. I mean, so I've always been in this space because I saw it as a way to communicate. But then I see people, it's like, I don't even, oh, you can connect your Instagram to your Twitter, or I don't, I'm talking about baby boomers, especially. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I don't even know. And I'm thinking like, wow, stuff is changing so fast. I mean, Clubhouse. I don't know how to get on Clubhouse. Can you send me I mean, there's so much where the internet and the digital space is changing so fast
Mm-hmm.
that people, if they don't get online, I was saying this in 2010, if you don't get online, you're gonna get left behind. And it's just as simple as just really taking it seriously and not playing online, get off Facebook playing games,
Right.
but just understand of how to buy advertising or promotions on Facebook. And there's just so many ways where the marketing has really changed, and
Mm-hmm.
people don't, I would say Black people, there's very few that I know that really know how to set up things structurally right, including their websites, or I'm going to build an app. I give an example. Like yesterday I went on someone's site, and this person came to my mind, so I googled their name. They didn't show up, or at least I didn't really see it. I said, this person? So I googled it some more, and then I said, okay, well, they have a book. So then went to Amazon, and then their Amazon page wasn't set, or they didn't have the bio in there. Then I went to something else, and I said, well, I think this is them here. They have this website. Then so I'm gonna send them an email. And then there was no place for, even like, I couldn't find a contact for them to send an email. But then they were asking for my phone number. I said, I don't want them to text me. And
Right.
it was just it was just a mess. I'm like, if I'm a producer, TV producer, trying to get you on a show, I
Mm-hmm.
can't even find you, boo. I mean, you
Wow.
should be able to put Pam Perry in Google, and my website should pop up first. And then there should be a part that says about, so
Mm-hmm.
you can know what that's about. It should
Right.
be a press kit there. It should be a place where you can contact. It should be a phone number. It should be an address. I mean, even an address, even if you have a PO box. I mean, these are just basic things. It's like being in business and not having a business card. It's like, okay, you don't have a business card. So when I look at people and it's like they don't have all the stuff that they really need to succeed online,
Wow.
and I just see a lot of people being taken because they're being taken by slicksters, I guess you would say, internet marketers and things like that, believing that they can make 30,000 in 30 days. They just buy this program. And I'm like, that's so untrue. But because they don't know any better, they don't do any better. And so I just really wish that people would do better by really getting into, like, I have a program called Ready Set Go Speak. It's a basic program. It's a monthly program where we're like a PR marketing club. And I talk about what's new, what they're doing is right, why this is wrong, explain to them, because people will do better if they knew better. So if you don't know if you don't know why you should change, then you won't. So I try to explain like what the reason is, and what down the line as you're building your company, what the pre what would happen if you don't.
Right.
Like with my Blog Talk Radio podcast, I know for a fact that I should have probably got off that platform.
Okay.
Right. So all of my podcasts with all of those quote unquote famous people are gone. Now I can Google them and say that they're there, but when I go there, the actual voice of it is gone.
Right.
Like, oh. you know. So I've had more than one podcast, and I've had, and this is Speakers Magazine. It's not my first magazine, too.
Okay.
I had another magazine. It was like a tabloid newspaper, and it was 50,000 circulation. It was inserted into our Black newspaper here in Michigan. It was called Soul Source. And we had 3 editions. Advertising, churches never supported it. They didn't believe in advertising. They didn't
Right.
support it. So yeah, it had to be a different business model. And then I had another magazine called the Gospel Times, and again, advertising. Going to gospel churches, things like that. They didn't support it. So they loved the content, but they didn't support it with advertising. So Speakers Magazine has been 4 years, is 4 years old now, and it has a different business model, and it does really work because it's not just 2 churches.
You have inspired so many people. You've helped people to launch their businesses, their speaking businesses, their media platforms. The question I have for you right now is, who inspires Pam Perry?
Ooh, there's so many. My clients inspire me. That's why I
Okay.
work with them. Yeah,
Okay.
they all inspire me. That's why I work with them. So they all have messages that I love. I could work and do PR and marketing for food companies, which I've worked for Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, and I could work with automotive companies because I work with Ford and GM. I could, you could do PR marketing for anything or for
Sure.
anybody.
Sure.
Music, I've never worked with music, even though I love music. But really, it's always those messengers, I guess you would say, those messengers, those people who are sharing light, people who are sharing light. Those are the people that inspire me. And so I sometimes when I remember the very first time that I heard Dr. George Fraser speak, I just adored him. I said, I love your message. And he worked, he was doing Success Guide at that time, and I put together his first edition of the Detroit Success Guide, which was a directory of all African Americans and things like that. I've known him for like almost 30 years, but I worked with him on that, and to this day, he's like my mentor. He's a person that inspires me. Just because anything that Dr. George Fraser says, I will take it and say, okay, that's what I need to do. So if he says you need to invest in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, okay. If I need to do this, I need to do that. Okay. If you need to get, he's the first issue when we had Speakers Magazine. He says, I like this, but you need to change the paper. And, so he's the person that will tell you the truth as far as, what's needed, what's next. So
Sure.
he's always inspired me. But a lot of all my clients do. They all have messages that are just, I call inspirational messages. And I would say I've had some clients that didn't really fit.
Okay.
Right? It was like, they really want to work with me, but it wasn't really like a message that I really loved because I have to promote you.
Mhm.
And you could tell. I mean, on both ends, it was like, I'm not really, they're not really feeling me. I'm not really feeling them. It's not a good mix. So your publicist is your hype man. So you
Right.
want to make sure that that person really, really loves your message and they are telling everybody about you. So all my clients are like that. If you go on PamPerryPR.com and you hit a little tab that says clients, it'll go to my Pinterest and I pin my clients there. So you'll see my Pinterest board of the different clients I've worked with over the years. And I remember some of the clients that I looked at from afar, like Creflo Dollar and Taffy Dollar or Dr. Stacia Pierce. And I worked with them, so it's kind of a cool thing because the people that you love, you eventually you end up working with them. So Dr. Miles Monroe is another one that just love.
Sure.
Mhm. The late great Dr. Miles Monroe.
And that he was. Well, Pam, I just want to first of all, we've had a great conversation today, and I am just so grateful that you took the time to be on the show today. How
Thank
can we
you.
connect with you? How Just give us all of your information so somebody who's interested in,
Yes, I
you
mean
know,
I'm on everything from Clubhouse to TikTok to Snapchat, but the best place is PamPerryPR.com. Don't go on my TikTok. Don't judge me.
absolutely. Well, Pam, I just want to thank you for coming on the show today. You have truly inspired us. You've encouraged us. You have motivated us. And I'm sure someone who is listening, if they didn't know where they could get in touch with the right person, they know today that it is Pam Perry PR, the PR guru. So as I say to all of my guests that come on the show, you have gone beyond the culture, and I thank you for being with us tonight.
All righty. Thank you, David.
All right, Pam, you take care. Now, if you want to continue to hear inspiring interviews like the one you heard today, I want you to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. Also, rate the show and please leave a comment. I would also love it if you would share this podcast with your friends to let them know that we're on. Finally, please go to our website at www.beyondtheculturepodcast.com, or you can email me at beyondtheculturepodcast@gmail.com. On the website, you can subscribe to the show and connect with me by leaving your email address. I'd love to hear from you. This is your host, Dr. David Walker, and we'll talk again on Beyond the Culture. Take care.